So one of the themes that will come up in this session is the holy instant. And I think you may find that this particular session is a way of portraying the holy instant that is perhaps very easy to grok, to understand. And so let's see if that proves to be true. The holy instant, a miniature of heaven. So the section is entitled The Two Pictures. And at first, you may not understand what those two pictures symbolize, but we want to close that gap. And after we get several paragraphs into it, I think you'll find this fairly easy to understand. So hello, and welcome to Miracles on High Plains. My name is Jonica, and our reader for this session is Julie. And my technology is working.
God established his relationship with you to make you happy, and nothing you do that does not share his purpose can be real. The purpose God ascribed to anything is its only function. Because of his reason for creating his relationship with you, the function of relationships became forever to make happy and nothing else. To fulfill this function, you relate to your creations as God to his. For nothing God created is apart from happiness, and nothing God created but would extend happiness as its creator did. Whatever does not fulfill this function cannot be real. In this world, it is impossible to create, yet it is possible to make happy.
Mm-hmm. So it is true that this course is founded on the experience of relationship. The relationship begins with the Creator Father relationship to the Holy Son, and then to the Holy Spirit. There's a relationship there. And that relationship then expands to include every member of creation. And from the perspective of the Creator, we are all in a relationship together, a relationship of holy relationship of creation. And that is an eternal experience. And it has a purpose. It's not arbitrary. It's very high. It's a divine intention, a divine purpose. And those relationships have a purpose to make happy. Now, we can get into what happiness is later on, but know that the relationship, the happiness stems directly from that relationship, that network of all creation. Heidi, you had your hand up.
It's my understanding that we are one with God. So if we're one with God, aren't we creators as well? Don't I have the ability to create love or create fear? Because it says,
it's true.
The last sentence, in this world, it is impossible to create.
Yeah, good catch, Heidi, because that is a key statement. So let's just back up a minute. Yes, it is true that the power to create was imparted to us by the Creator. It's easiest to think of this, Heidi, as we are co-creators with God, not independent and separate, but we co-create love along with using the laws of God and the guidance and light of God. When we try to go our separate way, we become a miscreator. We follow a dark path. So that is true. Now, the question, that's how we were created, in that light. Now, the question is, what are the conditions that are needed for us to create with love? For in other words, what is the foundation that has to be true for us in that moment for us to create in love? And you would recognize, Heidi, if we're in a state of abject fear, judgment, or guilt, we're blocked from creating love in that state. Understand?
Yes.
Okay. So here's where the interpretation comes in, Heidi. In this world, what do they mean by
Ah,
in this world? It doesn't say on this planet.
gotcha.
It says, so I'll reinterpret, in the world of the ego, it is impossible to create. And the sentence makes
Perfect.
perfect sense. Yeah. And so
Thank you.
we will, that, by the way, that use of the word world will come up again and again throughout the course and will be confused frequently. So there are two worlds. There's the world of the ego, and there is the real world the Holy Spirit endorses. And many times when they make the reference in the reading, it doesn't specify whether they're talking about the ego world or the real world. You have to infer from the meaning of the sentence which world they're talking about. David, you had your hand up.
Hello, everyone. This is just such an amazing paragraph. The function of relationships became forever to make happy and nothing else. I am just so happy to find out that my Father's will for me is to be happy. Above all else, it's to be happy. And he's given me the means of getting there, which is turning to the Holy Spirit and accepting the atonement for myself. It's just so wonderful. I grew up with a father I tried to escape as he, he tried to shame me my whole life. And here I have a completely different father that is just nothing but wants me to be happy and supporting me and loving me. Thank you. I'll be quiet now.
Thank you, David. So let's be happy.
Whatever does not fulfill this function cannot be real. In this world, it is impossible to create, yet it is possible to make happy. I have said repeatedly that the Holy Spirit would not deprive you of your special relationships, but would transform them. And all that is meant by that is that He will restore them to the function given them by God. The function you have given them is clearly not to make happy, but the holy relationship shares God's purpose, rather than aiming to make a substitute for it. Every special relationship you have made is a substitute for God's will and glorifies yours instead of His because of the illusion that they are different. You have made very real relationships, even in this world, yet you do not recognize them because you have raised their substitutes to such predominance that when truth calls to you, as it does constantly, you answer with a substitute. Every special relationship you have made as its fundamental purpose, the aim of occupying your mind so completely that you will not hear the call of truth.
Mm-hmm. So there's a concept here called a substitute. And what is done, this is a process within your mind of not recognizing your primary relationship with the creator, and instead in your mind looking elsewhere for what? A substitute, an alternative. And this is done largely unconsciously. The purpose of mind training and Course in Miracles is to help you recognize that you are doing that, and so that you can make a new choice and decide whether or not you want to stop substituting for God and instead turn towards the Creator. And Heidi, that's how we shift from miscreation to creation, by choosing again to stop substituting for God's will. And so every time we entertain ego thoughts and they dangle out there in front of our mind, and we go for it and we start to indulge in whatever that thought system may offer, that's a substitute for the thoughts of God. We're substituting. So the truth is, we probably all have substituted today. It's not unlikely that everyone has substituted in their mind something other than love all day long, something other than perfect peace all day long. So this is an experience we all share. What is the substitute? It's always in the form of some illusion that we are inclined to believe in the illusion and to give our faith to the illusion such that it seems real to our mind. And what is and this is often shows up in many forms. You can make substitutes with objects, with substances, with experiences. You can make them with people. There's a long list. But the example they're using here is where the special relationship is used as a substitute. And what is its purpose? To distract you, to fill your mind up and keep it distracted so completely that you will not recognize the call for truth. That's its purpose. It doesn't matter what form it is. It could be cocaine. It could be $1 million. It could be a trip around the world. It can be a special person. Whatever that is, it becomes so enamored with that experience that it occupies all our attention, and we fail to hear the call for truth. Let's go on.
In a sense, the special relationship was the ego's answer to the creation of Holy Spirit, who was God's answer to the separation. For although the ego did not understand what had been created, it was aware of threat. The whole defense system the ego evolved to protect the separation from the Holy Spirit was in response to the gift with which God blessed it, and by his blessing enabled it to be healed. The blessing holds within itself the truth about everything. And the truth is that the Holy Spirit is in close relationship with you, because in him is your relationship with God restored to you. The relationship with him has never been broken, because the Holy Spirit has not been separate from anyone since the separation. And through him have all your holy relationships been carefully preserved to serve God's purpose for you.
So this paragraph revisits the idea of your holy relationship. And again, holy relationship involves every member of creation. So it certainly involves the Holy Spirit being in close relationship with you. And that also involves you being in relationship with God. The Holy Spirit's function is to restore to your mind the awareness of your relationship with God. The relationship never ceased, but your awareness of the relationship fluctuates and can be blocked by the things that we spoke about a moment ago that so occupy your mind that you fail to hear the call for truth. So, this course is entirely based on recognizing these blocks and the willingness to realize that you can't fix all this yourself because you've made these blocks into your own dream, your own idols, your own desires are centered around this ego set of a false reality. And so this course requires your willingness to recognize that and to turn it over to the Holy Spirit who knows how to remove these things. And once you do that, the blessing that the Holy Spirit has for you at all times becomes evident to you. You see it in your soul. Once again, it's restored to your awareness. And the fact is that the Holy Spirit's blessing is not a little nibble or a little breadcrumb. It's the entire package. It's the entire blessing of all of heaven and forever. It contains within it everything, the entire truth. It's not to say that you'll immediately recognize that entire truth, but that it's given to you completely. And by the way, it goes without saying, it's given to everyone completely. So we're not in this by ourselves. Everyone has this. And so we want to remove the blocks to the awareness of this blessing so that we can realize we are blessed. We have blessings that we can then offer to other people, and that begins a process of healing that eventually extends to everyone. So the holy relationship is waiting for us to recognize it once again. And in recognizing the holy relationship, it then gives new meaning to your life. It gives you a sense of purpose, which was not one that you fabricated on your own, but a sense of purpose that is an eternal, it's a sense of purpose that involves every member of creation forever and spreads everywhere. It's the highest purpose that is imaginable.
The ego is always alert to threat, and the part of your mind into which the ego was accepted is very anxious to preserve its reason as it sees it. It does not realize that this is totally insane. And you must realize just what this means if you would be restored to sanity. The insane protect their thought systems, but they do so insanely. And all their defenses are as insane as what they are supposed to protect. The separation has nothing in it, no part, no reason, and no attribute that is not insane. And its protection is part of it, as insane as the whole. The special relationship, which is its chief defense, must therefore be insane.
Mm-hmm. So a moment ago, we were speaking about heavenly purpose and a holy relationship. Well, the ego's response to that is to put up a wall. And we call that wall the defense system. And there's a whole index of psychological defense systems that we can talk about at another time. We're not going to go off in that direction. But the ego has all this protection around its structure, and your mind will wind up employing those ego protections without you even realizing you were doing it. So denial, substitution, detachment, is a long list of activities within the mind that go on to keep things the way they've always been, to not rock the boat, to not even question the principles that the ego would have you live your life by. And so that results in being blind to the spirit reality and not even knowing that you're blind to it. And of all the defense mechanisms that the ego has, the special relationship becomes its primary or chief defense. And thus, great insanity shows up in that context of the special relationship. People wind up having their ego come out to the forefront in that context, which is a wonderful opportunity to heal if you're looking to heal. I mean, it's just, going insane in a relationship is very disruptive and emotionally chaotic. But if you're committed to healing in that context, it supplies you a lot of content in which you can say, gosh, I feel like I'm going crazy here. Holy Spirit, help me, because I can't manage this on my own. I don't know what to do, but I am willing to be guided by you in healing this.
You have but little difficulty now in realizing that the thought system the special relationship protects is but a system of delusions. You recognize, at least in general terms, that the ego is insane. Yet, the special relationship still seems to you somehow to be different. Yet we have looked at it far closer than we have at many other aspects of the ego's thought system that you have been more willing to let go. While this one remains, you will not let the others go, for this one is not different. Retain this one, and you have retained the whole.
Oh, well, here's where the ego is going to be disappointed at what was just said. Because what it says is that you may have let go, at least thought you did, of many aspects of the ego's thought system. Feel as though you've moved on from them, but holding on to the special relationship because it's where we make idols. We make an idol out of the special relationship. It's a belief that I have a special love, that I'm in a special love relationship here. Becomes, especially in our culture, in our novels, in our movies, in our songs, in our poetry, they idealize the special relationship. So that message you've probably heard in your lifetime a million times, how that's where happiness is found, in the special relationship. So it's understandable that the mind would become convinced that's where I should look for happiness. But what the Course says, as we just read a moment ago, that that's the chief defense mechanism of the ego. And that as long as this one remains, the others in muted form are also there. And this is because holding on to any aspect of the darkness, of the lie, of the illusion, of the ego system means that you're still holding on to it. You can't hold on to a little bit of it because one part of it is the same as the entire thing. Retain the one thing, you've retained the whole. Now, you may not be aware of all that. That's not normally something that one is conscious of. It just means that you're invested in your belief and in your faith that some part of the ego's thought system is real, well, and that means that you are not free. You are enmeshed in the ego's thought system, and even to the extent that you've retained the whole thought system.
It is essential to realize that all defenses do what they would defend. The underlying basis for their effectiveness is that they offer what they defend. What they defend is placed in them for safekeeping, and as they operate, they will bring it to you. Every defense operates by giving gifts, and the gift is always a miniature of the thought system the defense protects, set in a golden frame. The frame is very elaborate, all set with jewels and deeply carved and polished. Its purpose is to be of value in itself and to divert your attention from what it encloses. But the frame without the picture you cannot have. Defenses operate to make you think you can.
Mm-hmm. So we're about to enter into a deep discussion of a metaphor of two different pictures, the title of this section. And we're going to introduce the ego's picture first, and then we'll get to the Holy Spirit's picture. But let's understand what we're saying is that the whole thought system of the ego is going to be surrounded by what it calls a frame. And the frame is going to have very spectacular appearances that would ensure you of its worth and its value. Once you see that frame, you say, oh my goodness, this is something really impressive. But again, this is a metaphor. These pictures, I should say, are pictures in your mind. These are frameworks in your own mind that are supplied either by the ego or, as we'll get to in a moment, by the Holy Spirit. So in the ego's framework or reference frame, the frame is really an attention grabber. But if you were to look at the picture in detail, you'd be frightened at how insane it is. You would see how it's all full of chaos and darkness and nonsense. And so the goal of the ego there is to keep your attention on the frame and away from the picture. Okay, so with that in mind, and so it says, its purpose is to be of value in itself, talking about the frame, and to divert your attention away from what it encloses. And the defense mechanisms that we talked about a moment ago are psychological responses that would keep you occupied, your attention, your faith, and your belief on the frame so that you never knew what you're really dealing with in the picture. This is a metaphor, by the way. Okay, so we're talking about a framework for the thought system of the ego that on the external edges appears very attractive. What could they mean, Julie?
The special relationship has the most imposing and deceptive frame of all the defenses the ego uses. Its thought system is offered here, surrounded by a frame so heavy and so elaborate that the picture is almost obliterated by its imposing structure. Into the frame are woven all sorts of fanciful and fragmented illusions of love, set with dreams of sacrifice and self-aggrandizement, and interlaced with gilded threads of self-destruction. The glitter of blood shines like rubies, and the tears are faceted like diamonds and gleam in the dim light in which the offering is made. Look at the picture. Do not let the frame distract you. This gift is given you for your damnation, and if you take it, you will believe that you are damned. You cannot have the frame without the picture. What you value is the frame, for there you see no conflict. Yet the frame is only the wrapping for the gift of conflict. The frame is not the gift. Be not deceived by the most superficial aspects of this thought system, for these aspects enclose the whole, complete in every aspect. Death lies in this glittering gift. Let not your gaze dwell on the hypnotic gleaming of the frame. Look at the picture and realize that death is offered you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's summarize what was just said here. There are a number of frames that the ego will use, but as we said, the special relationship is the chief mechanism for defending the ego's thought system. It's the most deceptive frame of all. And so inside that is the real purpose and intent of the ego's thought system. But as long as your attention is more on the superficial levels, you'll be dazzled by the allure of the outer appearances and fail to recognize what's really hidden within. And so the lesson here would be to look deeper beyond the surface, beyond the outer framework, to look to the depth of what's being offered in the ego's thought system. And we know that once you do that, you'll realize that that's something that is not to be valued. And that's when healing begins, when you decide that you no longer want to keep that thought system, that you wish to be free. For the frame is a wrapping for the gift of conflict. Although this is not obvious for a long time, people go through an entire lifetime without realizing this point right here. All right, so let's just shift to the visual domain for a moment, because many of us are visual learners. So what we mean is that there's a very expensive and detailed looking frame that the ego's thought system, it surrounds the ego's thought system. A special relationship is the chief of those frames, not the only one. But inside, there's this dark picture of conflict and of separation and even of death. And what we'll get to in a moment, which has not introduced in the writing just yet, is that the Holy Spirit offers another picture. And that picture is one where the frame is not of any merit whatsoever. It's transparent or unimpressive, but inside is the gift of holiness, the blessing that we read about earlier, the thing that makes you happy, the things that brings you into a sense of meaning in your life and purpose, which is consistent with the purpose of all creation. And so the whole point of this reading is to help you to understand there's two different frameworks, and they're very different, and they're completely opposite, in fact. One, let's notice the frame of the ego is very exciting. Holy Spirit doesn't put any effort into the frame, but the picture of the ego is very dark, and the picture of the Holy Spirit contains everything. It's a blessing from heaven that includes the entire package. Oh, so if you would, could you close your eyes for a moment? We need about a minute here. And just for a moment, perhaps on the left side of your mind, picture the ego's frame, elaborate framework surrounding by a very dark canvas that you can't make out what's on that canvas, but it's dark. And now shift your attention to the right side of your mind and realize that there's this other picture in light. The frame is barely noticeable, but the picture is glowing in some glorious heavenly light beyond words, beyond description. Thank you. You can open your eyes. What you just did is what the Course invites you to do with healing every time you look at a dark ego thought of guilt and judgment, is to recognize it's dark and to choose of your own willingness to shift your attention towards the light and embrace what the Holy Spirit has to offer you. You just did it. And this can be done as a choice of will to choose again. It's not difficult to do, but it does involve a practice until it becomes a new habit. And we can all do that. So this is a real gift, this recognition that there's always before you two different worlds, Heidi. The world of the ego that pictures attractiveness in the frame, and the real world that the Holy Spirit would offer as an exchange.
That is why the holy instant is so important in the defense of truth. The truth itself needs no defense, but you do need defense against your acceptance of the gift of death. When you, who are truth, accept an idea so dangerous to truth, you threaten truth with destruction. And your defense must now be undertaken to keep truth whole. The power of heaven, the love of God, the tears of Christ, and the joy of his eternal spirit are marshaled to defend you from your own attack. For you attack them, being part of them, and they must save you, for they love themselves.
Well, this is a recognition that we wind up that although the truth does not need to be defended, if we embrace the dark canvas of the ego, believe it to be the basis of reality, if we give it our faith, said another way, if we turn the power of our mind towards it and accept it as being true, then that winds up so encumbering our thoughts that we've accepted an idea so dangerous to truth, we threaten our own awareness so that the real truth becomes threatened, that we might not even see the real truth because we're so occupied with the ego's thought system. This happens to everybody to some extent. And the form that it takes here, it takes many forms, but the one that proves to be the chief obstacle is that of death, and we mean biological death, which then implies soul death or the death of your being. again, this is the illusion that biological death results in you, that you no longer exist, that you cease to exist. And so what it says here is that you must learn to defend yourself against this idea of death, because if you wrap yourself into it and define yourself by it, it's going to blind you to the reality. And we will shortly in chapter 19 deal head on with these obstacles to peace, the 4 obstacles to peace, of which death is number 3. We're going to deal with this topic again in detail, chapter 19. But right now, we're just pointing out how crucial it is that we not accidentally invest ourselves in the belief that biological death has the meaning that the ego would imply it has. It's really just flesh and blood is born, it lives for a while, and it ceases to exist. Talking about flesh and blood, no body has ever gotten out of here alive. They all wrap up and terminate at some point. This should not surprise anybody. But if you subscribe to the ego's version of that, it is that you, as a creature of creation, will also die. You'll cease to exist. It'll be the end of you. And that's truly frightening, that you would be no more. So we're going to have to, again, postpone the deeper discussion of that until chapter 19, but know that that's something we must identify and free ourselves from. Right now, we just want to know that we should be guarded around concepts of death and the way they are taught in our world, for they are full of fear. So on to brighter topics, Julie.
Mm-hmm. The holy instant is a miniature of heaven, sent you from heaven. It is a picture too, set in a frame. Yet if you accept this gift, you will not see the frame at all, because the gift can only be accepted through your willingness to focus all your attention on the picture. The holy instant is a miniature of eternity. It is a picture of timelessness, set in a frame of time. If you focus on the picture, you will realize that it was only the frame that made you think it was a picture. Without the frame, the picture is seen as what it represents. For as the whole thought system of the ego lies in its gifts, so the whole of heaven lies in this instant, borrowed from eternity and set in time for you.
In many ways, this paragraph summarizes the entire journey of Course in Miracles. Not so it focuses on the holy instant side of it, which is the part that you didn't know about, because we didn't make that part up in our own minds. That's not our illusion. That's the truth of heaven. And so it's the properties, this is my word, of the holy instant. What are those properties? One, they are a miniature of heaven, because it is an instant. It's not an eternity, a holy eternity, in the sense that your experience of it in time may last for a minute or less. So it's an instant in that sense. But in that instant, all the properties of eternity are contained there. In the first or second paragraph of this session, we read that the blessing of the holy instant contains everything. It's the whole package. It's an all, my word, it's an all-inclusive package. So if you experience that, you get it all. Now, yes, Heidi, we experience this in what it seems like a moment of time. We're passing through this linear life experience of one day after the next after the next, and all of a sudden you have this encounter with someone. You recognize the light in yourself is also in them, and you have a holy encounter. And in that instant, the properties of eternity prevail. The laws of time and space for a moment subside, and all that really matters is the holy encounter of that moment. The picture is seen as what it represents, and it represents a miniature of the entire plan of creation. And it's borrowed from eternity and set in time. Julie, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Jonica. I was thinking that maybe for me, my life in a body is the frame that contains death.
Yeah.
And not only that that's a statement I just made, but that's part of how I experience myself as not blessed.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah. Exactly, Julie. What you just did is you saw it, you grokked it. This is how I do it. I see it through that framework, that viewpoint, and that's me in there, and ultimately me in the body, and ultimately that body we know is not going to live forever. And so death is woven into that picture. And inside of that sentence, death sentence, is what we call existential fear. Again, we'll discuss it in detail in chapter 19. But if we're not free of that, then we cannot say that we are free. And so this becomes the one topic from which we must free ourselves, and all the other things will fall away as child's play compared to this topic of me in the body, us in bodies, death, and whatever that means. For the dramas and the narratives are the bark is more louder than the bite. What's you know what I mean? Saying it's really not a bite; it's just a bark. Heidi?
Aren't we in eternity? If we're thinking with our higher mind,
Yeah.
then isn't that eternity? And
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So why is the holy instant a miniature of eternity when eternity is so big and glorious?
Because the power of our mind, Heidi, allows us to miscreate. And if we look away from eternity towards a different framework, a framework of time in the body,
Yes.
we lose sight of eternity. It's not that we've left eternity, it's that we've started dreaming again that we're elsewhere.
Okay. Thank you.
So, to Heidi's point, we never leave God's creation. We never leave his mind. He never forgets about us. But our attention, free will allows us to turn our attention to wherever we wish. And when we drift into another reference frame that is based on time and space and death, special relationships, ego defense system, the whole ego pack delusional system, then we lose consciousness of eternity. We don't lose eternity, but we lose consciousness of it. This program is to train your mind to turn towards the light consistently. Heather?
I just love Julie's image. I mean, it just really made it clear for me that the frame is the body and the pictures are eternal self. It's our soul self. So that simplicity that was beautiful when she said, I just saw that, it just made it real for me.
Mhm. So we like to celebrate when miracles, shifts, and perceptions happen while we're in class, and probably many of them happen, but Julie shared one, Heather shared one, Heidi shared one. So we just acknowledge that we are learning and we're letting go and seeing anew. That's why we're here. Susie?
Yeah, I love this, the holy instant. I can feel it. Like the holy instant is a miniature of heaven or a miniature of eternity because, I get that every now and then, right? And it does, oh my God. And so, but then, like you said, like Heidi asked, I shift. I love that word. I I shift. But I know I'm shifting now. So much more awareness than before. And I just turn back. And the question is asked so much and through these years is why can't I just stay there? Why can't I just stay there? And I guess we get there more and more and more and more as we study and study and study and study
Yeah.
and be willing to watch our minds. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
why can't a batter bat 1,000? Why can't a golfer hit a
exactly,
hole in one at a time?
that's exactly right. That is exactly right. And I just have to mention it again. And I know we talk, the special relationships for me are are more than I think what's been being as they're referred to, they're idols for me. They're different things that I cherish, not another body, just different idols. Most of them gone. But as you said, if the ego's holding on to one of them, I'm holding on to all of them in some way. So that was very helpful for me, Jonica. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, another.
And the one sentence paragraphs ago that the Holy Spirit preserves and keeps the holy relationships for us really jumped out at me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no damage being done to our spirit, nor is this really a program about transforming your body. This is about mind training and mind healing, for that's where the error began.
Two gifts are offered you. Each is complete and cannot be partially accepted. Each is a picture of all that you can have, seen very differently. You cannot compare their value by comparing a picture to a frame. It must be the pictures only that you compare, or the comparison is wholly without meaning. Remember that it is the picture that is the gift, and only on this basis are you really free to choose. Look at the pictures, both of them. One is a tiny picture, hard to see at all beneath the heavy shadows of its enormous and disproportionate enclosure. The other is lightly framed and hung in light, lovely to look upon for what it is.
Julie, we're going to go on.
You who have tried so hard and are still trying to fit the better picture into the wrong frame and so combine what cannot be combined, accept this and be glad. These pictures are each framed perfectly for what they represent. One is framed to be out of focus and not seen. The other is framed for perfect clarity. The picture of darkness and death grows less convincing as you search it out amid its wrappings. As each senseless stone that seems to shine from the frame in darkness is exposed to light, it becomes dull and lifeless and ceases to distract you from the picture. And finally, you look upon the picture itself. seeing at last that unprotected by the frame, it has no meaning.
So the thing that is hard to recognize is that in our ego state of mind, we are inclined to try to make a heaven, to find heaven inside the framework the ego has presented. It's an effort to put all your faith, all your hopes, all your desire for love inside that framework to fit the better picture into the wrong frame. And so combine what cannot be combined. Heidi, this would be equivalent to making friends with the ego, to combine what cannot be combined. And so that would be an error, but we all have done this. You know what I'm talking about, or I should say, you've experienced what I'm talking about of trying to find all the love you could ever want within the framework of time and space, the framework of the egos. That's where our idols, and as Susie pointed out, it's not always in the form of a body. You can make an idol into anything whatsoever. And so recognizing this is the beginning of healing. We do this not to cast guilt or dispersions upon your mental habits, but rather to say that you don't have to, you're not a slave to this. You can choose again if you're aware that there's always two pictures that are available to you. Look upon the picture itself, not the frame.
The other picture is lightly framed, for the time cannot contain eternity. There is no distraction here. The picture of heaven and eternity grows more convincing as you look at it. And now, by real comparison, a transformation of both pictures can at last occur. And each is given its rightful place when both are seen in relation to each other. The dark picture brought to light is not perceived as fearful, but the fact that it is just a picture is brought home at last. And what you see there, you will recognize as what it is, a picture of what you thought was real and nothing more. For beyond this picture, you will see nothing. The picture of light, in clear-cut and unmistakable contrast, is transformed into what lies beyond the picture. As you look on this, you realize that it is not a picture, but a reality. This is no figured representation of a thought system, but the thought itself. What it represents is there. The frame fades gently, and God rises to your remembrance, offering you the whole of creation in exchange for your little picture, wholly without value and entirely deprived of meaning.
Mm-hmm. So a key point here is while we use metaphors of frames and pictures, that is just a teaching device, a learning aid, so that you can grasp the metaphor and then realize there's a more profound psychological, spiritual process that's going on that resembles the metaphor. And that is always, of first, recognizing that that dark picture doesn't really appeal once you look at it more closely. What you thought was real is actually meaningless and means nothing. And this is represented by the undoing of the ego's thought system in your own mind. You no longer value it. You no longer believe it. The power, Heidi, the power of your mind no longer puts emphasis on what the ego's picture represents, for you lose interest. If it's no meaning, this is where I use the shopping cart full of trash. It means nothing. You let it go. So the and turn, what do you do in turn? You redirect your attention to the picture of light, which again is a symbol not for pictures, but it's a symbol for reality. Remember, we said that in that blessing, everything is contained within there, the whole package, the whole insight into the nature of reality and of creation. It's a miniature of eternity right there. And so it offers you the whole of creation in exchange for some little picture. How could we be confused when the choices are painted as they are here?
As God ascends into his rightful place and you to yours, you will experience again the meaning of relationship and know it to be true. Let us ascend in peace together to the Father by giving him ascendance in our minds. We will gain everything by giving him the power and the glory and keeping no illusions of where they are. They are in us through his ascendance. What he has given is his. It shines in every part of him as in the whole. The whole reality of your relationship with him lies in our relationship to one another. The holy instant shines alike on all relationships, for in it they are one. For here is only healing, already complete and perfect. For here is God, and where he is, only the perfect and complete can be.
Mm-hmm. So there's really a profound message that, because of our time, we won't be able to fully flesh out, but it's the part as whole and the whole in every part. The whole reality of all creation with the Creator lies in your relationship to one another. Said another way, in the holy instant, it contains everything. It shines alike on all relationships. Here is where the healing occurs. The reason we emphasize it, the Course would assert that healing can only occur in that moment. Now, temporary fixes might occur in other formats, but they are temporary and they don't undo the great lie. And so we tend to revert back to the insanity once again. But in the holy instant, we are healed. These are part of our creations. So it cannot be overemphasized how important grasping and practicing the holy instant is. So just before you go, we shift again back to the visual domain as a reminder, because for me, I can remember these images very easily compared to all the words that we shared tonight. There is always two reference frames or two viewpoints of existence available to you. And it's very easy to get caught up in the thing that grabs your attention, the elaborate outer framework of the ego. But know that inside that framework, there is a theme of death, of termination of existence. And once you learn to avoid that trap, you can choose again at all times to turn towards the light, where the holy instant is available to you, contains everything. It's a symbolic of your relationship with all creation, its relationship with you, the part in the whole and the whole in every part. This is where you want to be. This is where healing occurs. This is what you want to offer to others when you encounter them. So that's as far as we're going to go in this session. That's a lot. That's something to be grateful for, a gift, a blessing, the whole of eternity, the relationship with all creation, available just in a reference frame, a picture, and you shifted your mind today from that dark framework into the light. You can shift your mind at any time if you think of yourself as being worth the effort. So that's all we're going to share for tonight. Thank you all for your attention on these matters. Thank you for your courage to explore these deeply profound topics for which have confused the world for so long. We look forward to continuing this next time. Thank you all for your sharing as well. And Julie, thank you for your reading. Namaste.
Namaste. Thanks, Julie.
Namaste. You're
Thanks, Julie.
welcome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jonica.
Peace and love.